Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to be showing you how to make this cowl neck dress. It's a super cute dress to make, super easy. It's very good for beginners as well, I would say. It has an invisible zip and tie-up straps. It's pretty simple to make and I definitely recommend it if you're a beginner. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial and we'll get started. So we have our pattern pieces ready for our cowl neck dress and our fabric, our weights. We also need a zip for this as well. First of all, we're going to cut out the front pattern. Remember that it's cut out on the fold. So we're going to go ahead, pin that into place and then cut it out. After we've cut out the front piece, we can then cut out the back pattern pieces. Remember it's cut too. And then we're going to cut out our straps. So for this one, I've made 2 long pieces of straps, which are then each piece is going to be cut in half to make the 4 pieces for the dress as the straps are tie up. Once we've cut out those pieces, we then need to move on to the facing. The facing is pretty similar to the front and the back. The front you cut on the fold and the back you have cut 2 of. So we're going to cut out the facings. Now all our pattern pieces have been cut out, it's time to get overlocking, the best part. So yeah, we need to overlock each side for everything, including the top, the sides, the bottom for each piece. So we're going to overlock that and get that done so there'll be no fraying, no frayed edges, and it will have a nice professional finish. Remember to overlock your facing pieces as well. They need overlocking too. And once everything's overlocked, all the sides, the top, the bottoms, we can then align our front and back together for our dress and pin it into place. Remember, right sides facing together. Now we've got our front and back pieces aligned and pinned. We need to do the same with our facing, so it's exactly the same, just with shorter pattern pieces. And the facing is really important because that's what's going to give our dress a nice professional finish. So yeah, exactly the same. It's very straightforward. Remember, right sides facing. And once we've done that, we're going to sew all these seams up. When you sew up the dress, you can use a 1 cm seam allowance, or depending on your patterns, it might be a bit more. So now the dress front and back is sewn up, we now need to do the same for the facing. Once your facing is all sewn up, it's time to then pin your facing to your dress. So I would start from the front and pin the corners together, and then you can pin the rest. Make sure to lay your seams and your seam allowances flat so that it reduces bulk when you sew up the dress. It's now time to add in your zip. So get your zip and align it into the back, center back of the dress. You can pin it into place and just slightly move your pins from the facing where the zip's going to go, and yeah, you can pin your zip into place and check that it's aligned properly by carefully zipping the zip back up. You can also use a tape measure to check exactly where your zip should be. I also like to use the method where when your zip is done up, you can make a mark using a pin for the other side, which just helps you align it better. So hopefully the video will show you what I mean. So yeah, just make sure that your zip is perfectly aligned. That's a good little trick to use. Once you're happy with your zip alignment, it's time to sew it in. So I'd recommend changing your zipper foot to a concealed zipper foot and sewing in the zip using that foot is always going to make it sew better into the dress and make it really professional. Next, it's time to double check your zip has been sewn in properly and is lining up correctly. And after we've done that, we're going to sew up the rest of the back seam. We're going to pin the back seam together, and we're also going to change the machine foot again. I like to use the zipper foot just so it really helps the needle get as close as possible to our line of stitching from our concealed zipper. So once we've sewn that down, we've sewn the back seam and we've stitched up to where the line of stitching is for when we put in the zip. We're then going to work on our straps for the dress. And for the straps we need our bias binding tape maker, which if you've seen other tutorials it's been featured in. It's really handy, very affordable as well. I think it's from eBay. So yeah, you're going to thread your strap fabric through and give it an iron, and then we're going to fold it in half and pin it into place to create your strap, and just give it a really good press to make sure that it's going to stay into place. Because the straps are tie up, either end needs to be folded in just to hide the raw edge. Remember that it's just the two straps on either side that meet that need to have the finished edge. So in total you need 4 finished edges for the straps, and the rest you don't have to worry about because they're going to be hidden inside the dress. Once your edges are tucked in for the straps, you can then go ahead and sew them up. I would recommend stitching along the side of the strap just to trap in the front and the back fabric. Make sure that you've caught all the fabric properly, haven't gone off the edge or anything. You've got to try and get it nice and straight as possible to give it a really professional finish. Then we're going to get our 2 straps we've cut out and align them up and find the center and cut it in half, because now you have 4 straps, and we're going to get them put into place into the dress. So the front straps need to go at either corner on the dress, and you can just align them up. If you need to use a tape measure you can, and once you've aligned it, pin it into place so that it doesn't move, and you can pin the rest of the facing on the side there, and then you can do the same to the other strap. Pretty straightforward, just make sure you got it in the right place to match the other side, and then you can pin it into place, and once we've done that we can move on to the back. Now for the back straps we're going to measure 7 centimeters from where the zip is either side. So we're going to mark 7 centimeters on the back, So we know where our strap is going to go and that it's going to be equal on either side, because no one wants wonky straps. I'd definitely recommend putting it into place and then giving it a double check with your tape measure, and you can do the same for the other side. Once all your straps are pinned into place, it's now time to sew them all down. I've used a 1cm seam allowance here, so when you sew your straps in, you're also sewing in the facing, so it's nice and easy. You can just sew all along the front, the side and the back. Just be careful when you sew down the facing on the sides that you make sure your seams are flat and that your seams have been pressed open. When you sew the front, you can give it a double check your straps are in place, and also double check the back. Make sure your zip is working and aligned properly with your facing, and we can move on to the next step. We're going to make sure the straps are sewn in securely. I think this is always a great thing to do. Once we're happy with the placement, we can just give them a little bit of extra stitching to make sure that they are secure, and it will just finish it off nicely. Now that our straps are secure, it's time to press all our seams. So make sure to press your facing seams, and also if you want to trim the corners on your front facing and front pieces, you can. Just be careful. This will give it a bit of a better finish when you fold it round the right way, and just give it a very good iron. When you iron the front, make sure that the seam is tucked under slightly so that it's not visible from the front. Now we're going to sew in our label if you have one. I love sewing in the label because it's like part of the near final stages, and it kind of just makes you realise what you've made. So once you've sewn in your label, we're then going to finish off the facing where the zip is, because we want to hide and tuck in our facing as much as possible. So we're going to pin our facing to the zip right sides together, or to our zip seam allowance, and we're going to sew that down. I would recommend the zipper foot for this, because you want to get as close to the zip as possible without catching it, and we're going to sew that down at the back on either side. When you've done that, you can fold your facing round the right way, and next we're going to just tuck that facing in a little bit more to stop it from folding up. We want to kind of keep it down in the dress as much as possible. So here I'm pinning the side seams, or the seam allowances, together where the side seams are, so the facing and the dress piece seam allowances are going to meet together, and we're just going to do a few little stitches there just to like hold it down. Make sure that your stitching is in the seam allowance, we don't want anything showing, and yeah, I'm going to sew that down, and hopefully, well, it will make your facing sit nice and flat. Once you've done that to all of your facing seam allowances where you can, we're then going to do the hem. So we've nearly done this dress, and for the hem on this dress I folded it over twice because I decided I didn't want the overlocking to be shown. If you want to fold it over once, you can. There's no right or wrong as long as you've overlocked it and there isn't a raw edge. And we're going to sew that down. I think I did about 1/2 centimetre seam allowance just to keep it nice and thin. And once you've done that, you've done your dress. You can give it a press and press it into place if it needs to be. But yeah, we've done the dress, and hopefully yours should look a bit like this. I hope you enjoyed this video and followed along okay.